David was the youngest of 8 brothers. His 3 eldest brothers were serving in the Israelite army at a time when the Philistines were very strong and powerful. David's father Jesse asked David to take some provisions of wheat and bread to his soldier brothers and see how they were doing. So early the next morning, David set off for the Israelite army camp at Oak Valley in Judah. David left his bundles of food in the care of a sentry, ran to the troops who were deployed, and greeted his brothers. King Saul and his Israelite army were assembled on one hill facing the Philistines on the hill opposite. While they were talking together, the Philistine champion, Goliath of Gath, stepped out from the front lines of the Philistines. This giant was nearly 10 feet tall. He had a bronze helmet on his head and was dressed in armor 126 pounds of it. He wore bronze shin guards and carried a bronze sword. His spear tip alone weighed over 15 pounds. His shield-bearer walked ahead of him. Goliath shouted the challenge he had been making each day. "Why bother using your whole army? Am I not Philistine enough for you? And you're all committed to Saul, aren't you? So pick your best fighter and pit him against me. If he gets the upper hand and kills me, the Philistines will all become your slaves. But if I get the upper hand and kill him, you'll all become our slaves and serve us. I challenge the troops of Israel this day. Give me a man. Let us fight it out together." The Israelite army looked at Goliath in fear. The talk among the troops was, "Have you ever seen anything like this? This man openly and defiantly challenging Israel." King Saul had offered a huge reward, and his daughter, as a bride, for anyone willing to fight Goliath, but there were no volunteers. "Who does Goliath think he is?" David asked his brothers. "This Philistine is taunting the armies of God. I'll fight him." They were dismissive of their youngest brother. "Why aren't you tending our father's flock of sheep?" But news of David's willingness to fight reached King Saul, who sent for him. David trusted in God and told the king, "I'm ready to go and fight this Philistine." Saul answered, "You can't go and fight this Philistine. You're too young and inexperienced, and he's been at this fighting business before you were born. I've been a shepherd, tending sheep for my father. Whenever a lion or bear came and took a lamb from the flock, I'd go after it, knock it down, and rescue the lamb. If it turned on me, I'd grab it by the throat, wring its neck, and kill it," David protested. "And I'll do the same to this Philistine who is taunting the troops of God. God, who delivered me from the teeth of the lion and the claws of the bear, will deliver me from this Philistine." Saul said, "Go. And God help you." Then Saul kitted David as a soldier in armor. He put his bronze helmet on his head and belted his sword on him over the armor. David tried to walk, but he could hardly budge. David told Saul, "I can't even move with all this stuff on me. I'm not used to this." And he took it all off. In the meantime, Goliath the Philistine paced back and forth, his shield-bearer in front of him, taunting the Israelite army. David put his trust in God and set off to do battle. He took his shepherd's staff and sling with him. The same sling he used to hurl stones at wild animals that came near his father's sheep when he was looking after them. David selected 5 smooth stones from the brook in the valley, and put 4 of them in the pocket of his shepherd's pack. The remaining stone was loaded into his sling. David then advanced toward Goliath, who sneered at the youngster coming towards him. "Am I a dog that you come after me with a stick?" the giant shouted. And he cursed David in the name of his gods. "Come over here and I'll give your flesh to the birds and wild animals." David shouted back, "You fight me with sword and spear and battle axe. I fight you in the name of God and his armies whom you curse and mock. Today God will hand you over to me to kill and cut off your head. Then whole earth will know that there's an extraordinary God in Israel. And everyone gathered here will learn that God doesn't save by the sword or spear. This battle belongs to God. That roused the Philistine who started toward David. David began to swirl his swing round and round, faster and faster. Then he released a stone toward Goliath. It hit the Philistine hard in the forehead, embedding the stone deeply. The Philistine crashed down in the dirt. That's how David beat the Philistine, with a sling and a stone. No sword for David. The young shepherd then took Goliath's heavy sword to cut off his head. When the Philistines saw that their great champion was dead, they scattered, running for their lives. The Israelite army were up on their feet, shouting in victory. They chased the Philistines all the way to the outskirts of Gath and the gates of Ekron. Wounded Philistines were strewn along the Sharem road. After chasing the Philistines, the Israelites came back and looted their camp. David returned to Jerusalem as a hero. Saul asked David, "Young man, whose son are you?" "I'm the son of your servant Jesse from Bethlehem," said David. Little did King Saul know that one day, this young man who trusted in God, would become the next king of Israel.